Due to the recent announcement for Shadow Warrior 3, I decided to celebrate by downloading the game that came before it, Shadow Warrior 2, a exhilarating, action-packed looter shooter of sorts. I know some will disagree with me for putting that label on it, but from my experience, that's the genre it feels most relative to. If you're unaware of this series or what Shadow Warrior actually is, then allow this video to show you why this may be a game you want to check out, especially since there is a sequel on the way. It goes on sale very frequently and is available on Xbox Game Pass as we speak, but that can change. So if anything shown in this video piques your interest, keep that in mind. That being said, welcome to my brief review for Shadow Warrior 2. The first title was a different type of experience altogether, so I won't be going into details about it, but Shadow Warrior is a franchise that started in 1997, with the sequel coming out 19 years later in 2016. Honestly, it's great to see the third one being announced so soon compared to the first game. This likely means they had started working on the third title right away, which is promising because they know exactly what they want to do with it, or at least that's how it seems. But we aren't here to discuss that game just yet. Shadow Warrior 2 is a great example of how to pull off a looter shooter that doesn't really waste your time, something that is very refreshing after recent games with similar systems failed to impress in that regard. Replaying through this game really has been more than a pleasure. I enjoy everything about it. Now, it's not perfect, far from it. In reality, it has some major issues, including some frustrating bugs, but the experience as a whole is more than worth it. Shadow Warrior 2 aimed to bring a great melee combat system, mixed with a combination of awesome FPS mechanics that's enhanced by fantastic animations that's purpose is to fully immerse you into this fierce gameplay, and it hits that mark with deadly accuracy. The visuals are simply great, allowing for some incredible open world areas, of which have an emphasis on destructible environments. It sometimes felt like I was in the middle of an intense supernatural samurai movie. It really has that type of feel to it in both gameplay and visuals. Put it as blunt and simple as possible, it's like Doom met with Ninja Gaiden, and from there they ran into Duke Nukem, who was with his friends Killing Floor and Diablo. Then the five of them decided to merge as a singular, gory, intense, action-packed thrill ride that's really fun from beginning to end. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but this is how it felt for me. Shadow Warrior 2 also has a very comedic tone to it. Actually, the entire game is really one big cliche-filled joke. Now, as harsh or negative as that may sound to you, it's the one thing that makes this game kind of stick out. It has ridiculous humor. Hell, the game is basically one big dick joke, and the game is not shameful of that fact. It actually owns it. The premise of the story is actually quite simple. You play as Lo Wang, who is a brilliantly created character who gives life and reason to the previously mentioned dick jokes. You're a Shadow Warrior, a modern ninja of sorts. Your goal is simple: kill all the demons enveloping the world and feel badass while doing it. Of course, there's a lot more to it than just that, but no spoilers will be mentioned here. And quite honestly, you don't need to play the first game to understand this one, but it does help as there are references to other characters throughout the game. But as I mentioned, I didn't play the first, yet I still understood everything perfectly, which is made even easier since there is a lore book that keeps track of about all the info about the game and world you'll ever need to know. I actually like this a lot, as you can find these lore pieces in not just chests, but enemy drops as well, which are further elevated by some of the quests in the game. The mission design is fairly easy to understand. It's similar to games that are like Neo, where you have to go to your map, look for the quest you want to tackle, and travel to it. Then you'll be placed in a biome type matching the location you chose on that map. You can also free roam previously completed missions to explore and get more loot if that's really what you want to do. From the start of the mission, you're free to do the objectives at your own pace. These areas tend to be very open worldish, and you can run around exploring to find secret chests as well as higher tier bosses. Shadow Warrior 2 has an enemy system similar to Diablo, where there are different rarities and tiers of enemies, some of which are unique and will actually drop awesome weapons and trinkets to use. Now, the weapons and other customizable possibilities are at a whole different level when it comes to quality and diversity. Not one weapon is the same besides some of the swords that have similar movesets. I'll be showcasing some of my favorites throughout this video, but there's over 70 of these and they can be enhanced even further, changing how the weapon actually functions altogether. You do this by equipping different upgrades in the form of gems. These can vary from being pretty basic stat increases like movement speed and reload speed, or they can actually change how the weapon functions entirely. Here's one that changes my grenade launcher into a placeable turret that will auto-fire on target. I love this one personally. Or this one that can make your gun have a charged fire mode that majorly increases your damage. There's even one that you can equip to dual-wield pistols or even automatic rifles, and this isn't even mentioning the element mechanic in this game. You can make any weapon do any type of elemental damage to fit your needs in combat. This is fun to see in action as you freeze, burn, and electrocute all the demons just trying to ruin your day. I'm fully aware 70 weapons aren't a lot for this genre, but that's because this game doesn't aim to keep you playing non-stop. There is an end to reach. If you ran through just the story, I estimate it would take just 9 hours or so to finish. But if you'd like to complete the other quests and activities in the game, of which there are plenty, that includes in-game content in the forms of trials, which are challenging arenas where you have to take out all the enemies. Now you can easily spend upwards of 25 hours in this game if you want to explore all these. There's not a huge grind unless you want to optimize your builds, which I actually am fond of. After you beat the game, you can of course mess around and complete every mission at your leisure, or start a new game if you wish with your current save, bringing your weapons and unlocks with you. Usually the short story would be something that would turn me away from this game, but it's so refreshing to have a title that you can enjoy and beat in less than a week if you wanted to, not a title that's just sitting there waiting for you to play. Though I have to mention, without spoiling anything, that the ending of this game is very lacking, and the last boss fight isn't as exciting as it should have been, but I do actually want to keep playing after beating it. I want to play through these in-game trials as they take place in some pretty unique areas. They are relentless, geniusly forcing you to experiment with builds, of which is very fun to do. I find myself constantly wanting to jump into a random bounty mission, which are side quests that are also fun and on-the-nose references. Some of these have enemies and loot you can't find anywhere else, but some are also pretty basic in nature, but all of them are fun to play through. This game just knows what it does best and leans into it. You can adjust the game's difficulty to your playstyle, but the higher it is, the better drops you'll receive. I recommend playing on hard. It's just too easy on easy. It really is. You'll see what I mean when you play the game, if you play the game. Now, excluding weapons, you also have 5 abilities to mess around with, and upgrade of course. You have an area effect ability for crowd control. You shoot up spikes that pierce and stops enemies. This one is very fun to use. You have a healing ability, a rage ability that you can just quickly turn on the rage mode and do extra damage, a force push ability that's as it sounds, as well as the ability to turn invisible and get off a critical strike. Now you upgrade all this and more in the form of a skill card mechanic. These are special items that can actually be earned through quests, found in shops, or even dropped by enemies, which I freaking love. I love that. This is the progression system of the game and serves as a very unique take on a skill tree. There's some really interesting things to upgrade. I won't spoil them for you, of course, but I do recommend taking your time to see what every one of them does. While I did enjoy Shadow Warrior 2, very much so, it isn't free of its issues. Actually, it has quite a few. An example of this is inside multiple of these bounty missions I mentioned earlier. I got stuck because my target enemy would just phase out of existence, making it impossible to progress. The only fix that I've discovered is to just start a new bounty, which will cancel the first one out. Now you lose all the progress on the bounty, so that really does hurt. This is but one bug that occurred. Also, due to the sheer number of particle effects and gore on the screen, it can be hard to see what's in front of you at times, making things seem more chaotic than they actually should be, but that's just a small nitpick. There's one other bug that seems to make lighting effects very bright, to the point where it can be hard to see the area you're in, and it really is blinding. This didn't happen often, but it was annoying when it did happen. As a whole, issues and all, Shadow Warrior 2 is a great game. Never once did I stop playing. I kept wanting to go into mission after mission, just so I can discover all the unique weapons that exist. I can't get over how satisfying the melee combat and gunplay are. I'm hoping Shadow Warrior 3 improves and enhances all of this. However, since the first and second game vary severely, I suspect they may be doing something a bit different in this third title as well, while at the same time continuing the story they're trying to tell. Either way, I can't wait to jump in and play as Lo Wang again. I mentioned the story being short for Shadow Warrior 2 is a great thing, but at the same time, I wanted more. I'm hoping the next game delivers on that in spades. That being said, I do recommend this game, not at full price of $40, but on sale. Even at 40, in my opinion, it is worth it, but I say that because it goes on sale constantly, so you'd be better off waiting until then. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, show me by hitting that like button so I can try to push my opinions out to as many as possible. I don't care about views. If I did, I wouldn't be covering games such as this, but I have ideas I wish to bring to life, and the more eyes and criticism I can get, the better. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll have a new video out sometime next week. Until then, I'll talk to you guys later. I'm out of here.